26th Anniversary Celebration Lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date: Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue: Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time: 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi 081 063 41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090-454-00744. Signed, Management.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human
on the point of order.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
Welcome to Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of program, our focus will be on the Tigers list for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. Beyond that, we'll take a look at the fortune or the prospect of the WAFCON, that's the Women African Cup of Nations. And you look at what could happen because in the course of the week, CAF have come to postpone the tournament. So we'll look at it. And beyond that, in basketball, the Tigers are having some torrid time. They have slid down the rankings. They are out of the top 50, and that's unbelievable. The Tigers of Nigeria out of the top 50 in world basketball. I'll explain all of that. And beyond that, it is getting to the very crucial stages in all of the competitions across Europe. Premier League here in Nigeria, and of course, in England as well. We'll take a look at the prospects of the teams emerging at the crucial continental places at the end of the day. So it is a loaded program here on the Atlantic Television Network, Sports Extraordinary. It will be an extraordinary weekend, no doubt. When we jump for a break, I'll reveal my guest, and together we'll explain all of these issues listed. Stay with us. back. A Sports Extraordinary Weekend edition. This weekend, I have with me Kingsley Emmanuel. Nice to have you, Kingsley.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here this weekend.
Well, our focus this weekend is on basketball. Well, the Tigers have listed, Coach Rene Wakama has listed 12-player squad for the 2026 Women's World Cup qualifier. The Tigers, as the male national team of basketball for Nigeria, is gone out of the top 50 in the rankings of world basketball. But first, let's look at what the women are up to in basketball. The Tigers, yes, Rene Wakama, we understand will be part of a competition that will feature some of the best in basketball this week in focus. March 11th to the 17th of March, we'll have to see the Tigers face France in the Philippines, Colombia, Germany, and South Korea during the qualifying series. This is a tough group, if you ask me, or a qualifier for the Tigers. Looking at 12 listed players by Wakama released a few days ago, what do you think could be the fate of these Tigers leading to the qualifiers?
I think for me, it's all good at this point in time when you take a look at their level of preparation and how the girls, of course, have been formidable. We take a look at the list. I think our familiar names, the likes of Ezine Kalu, Amu Kamara, Macaulay, you know, and the rest. So these are familiar names.
Okonkwo is in the squad. Okonkwo is in the squad as well.
Okonkwo as well, of course, you know, in the squad. These are familiar names. These are names that have, of course, you know, done a jersey for the D Tigers. And I believe, you know, they still have what it takes, you know, to compete at a very high level. Is this, take a look at the opponents they're going to face, the likes of Colombia. We talk about Philippines, South Korea. I think the only, you know, strong opposition for them will be the game against Germany and France as well. But for the likes of Colombia, it's about of Philippines, South Korea. I think the D Tigers of Nigeria, they have what it takes, you know, to be able to go past, you know, these nations. It's been an impressive ride for Rene Wakama, you know, and the girls. They've been able to put up a very impressive performance. We saw what they did in the Afro Basket Women Championship, as well as their exploits in the last Paris in the Olympic Games. We saw, you know, in Paris, where they got all the way to the quarterfinals. So with what they've done, I don't really see, you know, any country being a huge threat to them. We talk about Germany and the likes of France. I think they still have what it takes, you know, to compete at a very high level with these countries.
Looking at the roster, do you think there's any top female basketball player that has not been listed by Rene Wakama?
Not really. I think if you look at it, these are the players, of course, that have been putting up some, you know, impressive performance, you know, so far, right from the Olympic Games. You talk about the Afro Women Basketball Championship. These are players that have been, you know, they've been very fantastic. Likes of Ezine Kanu, of course, who has been a very good leader, you know, in the team. She's always shown her progress. Talk about Promise Amu Kamara. She's also a very good, you know, player who also, of course, put up most of the points, you know, we've seen at times. You can't also take away the brilliance, you know, of Macaulay as well. So for me, I think if you take a look at the names, the normal names, I don't think we have anybody that, of course, is not in this list. And one thing we've seen from Rene Wakama, she has that synergy with the girls. No matter how tough, you know, things are, you always see them, of course, having that same spirit. And the girls, you know, they really understand her. They know when she's serious and when, of course, you know, she wants to, of course, maybe have fun with them in her stand. So with that synergy alone, I think it really helps them to build something, you know, strong that we've seen so far. So for me, with the players being invited, I think the D Tigers of Nigeria are good to go.
When you invite players to the national camp for the Super Eagles, the football, in basketball, the Tigers, in this instance now, questions are often asked. Home-based players on the list, or is it all foreign-based players?
Foreign-based players to say. I think Rene Wakama has been finding it difficult to work with the home-based players. You know, she earlier complained, I think that was after the Olympic Games, where they got all the way to the quarterfinal. She came back and said that the NPBL should build the female basketball league in the country. That if, you know, the female basketball league is that good enough, that of course you can make some use of some of the players. But the female basketball league in Nigeria is not that formidable. When was the last time we had, you know, the
tournament?
The tournament. All right. So for me, I think in a situation whereby we're not consistent in terms of hosting the Female Basketball League, right here, it becomes difficult for the players, of course, to be able to be that fantastic, maybe to join these other girls, coming, from outside the country, as it stands. It will be a different ball game because the rate at which they will be playing, they are very far from it. So to create that balance will be difficult for the coach, as it stands. So if you want to look at it, I think when Wakama, she has a very good the Tigers of Nigeria, they have what it takes, to get the job done.
The Tigers of Nigeria, the female basketball side of Nigeria, will conclude their fixtures against Germany on the 17th of March. Of course, they're looking forward to making a very strong presence known on the global stage in basketball. They have done it before, and we hope they can qualify for the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup after winning 2025 FIBA Women's Afro Basketball Championship in Abidjan a few weeks ago. Remember, they defeated Mali in that final, and it was a very difficult encounter.
Very difficult encounter. It was a very tough one for the Tigers of Nigeria, but they managed to find their way through, in that game. And Rena Wakama, of course, I think that was the second time she was doing it, for the Tigers of Nigeria. And I so much, love her determination, her prowess, and you can't take away her level of experience, as well. Doing it once again, for the Tigers, I think is a huge one. That's why I'm not really afraid, going down to this qualifier, because I believe, what she can, of course, bring to the table, especially when, of course, they see themselves in a very tight situation.
The Tigers, female basketball side of Nigeria, qualifying for going to the qualifier. FIBA World Cup. Of course, they are coming into the qualifiers as African champions. They should have to defend that title, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that this is where they have to prove themselves, to the world. That what they did at the Paris Olympic Games was not a fluke. Of course, they put up a very impressive record for themselves, being the first African side, male or female, to get to the quarterfinals of the Olympic Games when it has to do with basketball. And with that, prowess, so you talk about that performance, I believe they can go all the way, to challenge the very best when it has to do with basketball, in the world. So for me, I think we have nothing to be afraid of at this point in time. When you take a look at the way the girls, they've played over time. The good thing is that we still have the same crop of players. That's the thing. So whenever players, of course, they play together for a very long time, you expect that synergy and you expect that level of performance, and they tend to understand themselves more. So for me, with what we've seen, definitely they can, of course, get the job done in these qualifiers.
The Tigers can get the job done, but talking about the Tigers, the male version of the national team in basketball for Nigeria, they have not done the job. If you ask me, they didn't do it last year, and this year it looks even a bit bleak because first, there's the latest ranking released by the International Basketball Federation, and they have dropped down to 53rd in the world. I can imagine it that the national basketball side of Nigeria, the male version, have now dropped out of the first 50 in the world. We've never gone this low before in basketball. Kingsley, before we look at the reasons why we 53rd in the world now, the Tigers' performances last year didn't help in determining these rankings.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's been a poor one for the Tigers of Nigeria. They've not been fantastic. In the last 3 years, they've not been, fantastic at all. We saw, how they performed in the, I think, they didn't even qualify for the Afro Basketball Championship. It was a very poor one, from there. We saw that qualifiers, I think that was in Lagos. They had a very terrible performance. So it's been a poor one. And you ask yourself, what could be the reason for all of this? I also attribute it to the poor nature of the basketball league down here in Nigeria, because if you look at it, bulk of the players, in the D Tigers of Nigeria are home base. That's the home base. So in a situation whereby the league is not functioning, how will the players, of course, be effective when they get down to play at the national scene? The league is not active. It's been a long time, of course, we saw the league. Yes, we just saw, I think that was last year, where the likes of, I think, Lagos Legends, got the nod, this time around ahead of River Supers, and all of that. But how active, is the league? The players, they've not, since the last championship, we've not seen them maybe in any mini competition, all right, or being active anywhere. Some of them are even match rusty. And at the end of the day, they will pick them down to, of course, go represent, the D Tigers of Nigeria. At the end of the day, they find it difficult to compete with other players coming from the likes of Mali. You talk about Sudan and the rest. These are some African countries that are really developing when it has to do with basketball. They have an active basketball league running every season. But here in Nigeria, we find it difficult to stabilize and make our league consistent. At the end of the day, we pick these players to go represent us. They cannot get the job done. Even when we go to play the African Basketball League, we even try to get some foreign legs or foreign hands to help us get the job done. That's to tell you that our players are not up to standard. And that's why the D Tigers of Nigeria are suffering at this point in time. They used to be number one. They used to be number one in Africa, but now they are 8th and rank over 50 at this point in time. It's really a very poor one, when it has to do with basketball, right here for Nigeria. And the NBB at this point, I think they should take the blame because they've not done the right thing. All we've been seeing is leadership tozu. There have not been a time we see the Nigerian Basketball Federation sit down to talk about the growth of Nigerian basketball. It's always leadership tozu, and it has really, really affected basketball, right here in the country. I just hope that they look for a way, to make things better. It's really, really a disappointing one for the D Tigers.
Talking about the rankings in Africa, it's looking very for that we are now eighth in the terms of ranking. South Sudan is first in Africa. There's Angola second. There's Ivory Coast. Third, fourth is Egypt. Senegal is in the fifth place position. Cape Verde is sixth, and Tunisia before Nigeria. And it has never been like this before, and looking very, very troublesome for us. For me, Kingsley, I get really, really worried that there is no, we are now 53rd in the world, 8th in Africa. We are sliding down, continuously. We are sliding down. And those who are charged with, organizing, managing basketball in Nigeria are continuously engaged in turmoil. The tenure of Musa Kida is supposed to have expired. We understand they have an extension. Yeah. And of course, there's a faction who is kicking continuously to say no, they cannot. Now, we have been told by the National Sports Commission that we have to wait for FIBA, CAF, basketball authority. No, FIBA itself, FIBA. The world governing body of basketball, to interpret, the tenure of Musa Kida. Can we have some peace? Because it's been from one problem or the other. In the last 3 or 4 years, it's been continuous problem. And for me, this is the sole reason why the D Tigers, the male basketball team of has been sliding. Yes, like you mentioned, we have an admixture of both home and local. Maybe the Tigers are doing well because of Rene Wakama and of course the foreign base. So they just come play and go, and they are not involved in what happens in the country. But then, how can we get out of this issue of management of basketball in Nigeria into be at least up to scratch?
First and first, I think the Nigerian Basketball Federation, should come to a round table and see how to resolve things. Musa Kida has been there for, I think, almost over 8 years or thereabout now. And at the end of the day, things have not really been stabilized when it has to do with basketball. Leadership, when you talk about leadership, it's not something that maybe you own. You don't own it. You don't own that position. You lead and you go, and another person comes up to take up the position and see what he or she can be able to bring to the table. But it's not that Musa Kida don't want to leave. He has been there for so many years. What have we really achieved? When it has to do with basketball, now his tenure has elapsed. It is damn time for him to maybe, take the back seat for another person to come up. And he's not saying it's going to be that FIBA will be the one to decide
his end of his tenure.
His end of his tenure. Why are we having this kind of thing? Why will FIBA be the one to come and decide when the tenure of the president of the Nigeria Basketball Federation will end?
Because of
Can't
the way
we do it by ourselves?
No, I think they're having to, say that because of the way they emerged last time. Remember, it was after the elections they had to go to, do I say, the tribunal and issues before they were confirmed. So they are not saying that it's not from the first date of election. Now they are dating from when the issues were confirmed. That is when they started work, and it will take another 4 or 5 months for their tenure to elapse.
For me, it's not good at all for basketball down here in Nigeria. It doesn't see we cannot put things together in our own house. We have to bring in external body to come make sure we put things right. For me, I don't think it's really a very good one. I think people we have at the helm of affairs should be able to make things better. Not every time people outside will have to come and maybe resolve things, for us. It doesn't help. I think the National Sport Commission is just trying to be careful at this point in time, because I expected Shehu Diko, the chairman of the National Sport Commission, to intervene. But I think possibly it might, happen to be maybe government interference in basketball, which might possibly, of course, warrant a ban if it happens. So they're just being careful at this point. But for me, Musa Kida, yes, he has done his best. And I think it's then time for him, of course, to maybe take the back seat for another person to come in, and let's see what comes up when it has to do with basketball.
It's thumbs up to the women. The Tigers, they are #1 in Africa. And of course, for the side, it looks terrible, but then they are 8th in Africa. Looking at the world basketball, United States of America continue to maintain the lead as the #1 basketball playing nation in the world. We'll have to wrap up this half of the show still in basketball. And one big name in basketball globally is LeBron James. He's broken the record for the most field goals made in NBA history through the latest milestone in his glittering career. And of course, we saw that match between Lakers of Los Angeles and the Denver Nuggets. It ended 120 to 113 in favor of Denver Nuggets. But then LeBron James playing for Lakers still made history.
Yeah, of course. At this point in his career, he's just breaking records, setting record, for himself. At 41 years of age, he's still, of course, putting up, something huge. And
we saw Jabal, another very legendary basketball player, Abdul Jabbar, with 15,837 field goals. Always you see that in the first quarter. The 41-year-old, of course, did play record 23 NBA seasons. We are seeing LeBron James in his 22nd season in the NBA.
Yeah. And I've not surpassed that record when it has to do with, of course, the on-field goal.
It doesn't seem he's going to retire at the end of this season.
It doesn't look like he want to retire. He's 41 years of age and he's still putting up the points, for the LA Lakers. And the question should remain, when is he going to, of course, call it a quits and maybe go rest and take a look at what, of course, his son, will do when it has to do with basketball. So at this point in LeBron James' career, it's all about the records. Anything he does now, any bounce of the ball, any goal he scored now, is all about the record for him. And impressive one. We'll just look forward to see how he'll be able, of course, to push the Lakers this season.
Congratulations to the man from Los Angeles Lakers, talking about LeBron James, legendary basketball player, pushing Abdul Jabbar to second place position in terms of most field goals in basketball. Time for us to take a break. When we return from the break, we'll take a focus on one or two other sports before looking at football entirely. There is something happening, in Formula One, and Lewis Hamilton doesn't seem to be very happy with it. We'll look at legendary Lewis Hamilton's opinion about some development in the Formula One, and then, of course, we'll go to football, where the leagues are coming to crucial business end, if you ask me. Stay with us.
The board management
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. On 18.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You're a human
Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition Television Network. We've taken an esprit on basketball, where the Tigers, the female basketball team of Nigeria, is preparing for the FIBA World Cup qualifier. And of course, they're doing that as African champions. We hope they will go and do exploit just the same way they did at the Olympic Games, where they qualified to the quarterfinal stage. No other African country has gone that far at the Olympics in the female basketball. But while the females are doing so well in basketball, it is not the same with the Tigers, the male team, because they have continued to slide on the rankings. Latest ranking shows that we are out of the top 50. The male basketball team is now 53rd in the world, and that's really very troubling. In Africa, they are a distant 8th. And we just hope that with all the troubles and turmoil going on in the Basketball Federation of Nigeria, it will come to an end, so that there will be a proper administration that will see to the upliftment of basketball, especially male basketball in Nigeria. Now let's continue on the program Sports Extraordinary this weekend. And this weekend we'll take a look at Formula One. Kingsley, Lewis Hamilton is in the news this weekend because he does not want to retire from Formula One until he can race in a Grand Prix in Africa. He believes that it is time for Formula One to return to Africa. We've had Formula One competed for in Africa before, but for some reasons it was taken away. But now he believes that we have what it takes to race in Africa. Do you agree with Lewis Hamilton?
And I don't really think that. I don't really think we have what it takes to.
The South African race course.
The South Africa, but do they really have that? Yes, they have good roads, but can they really stage the competition at this time? It's really, of course, if you take a look.
They have done that before.
They've done that before, but they find it difficult to do it again. That should tell you that things has really changed. For you to host a Formula One, events is really, of course, really.
Yeah, because remember way back in 1967, and we saw a race that took place in South Africa. I think there was another one again in 1992, and since then South Africa has been pushed down. You want to think that it had to do with the skin of administration then, which was under apartheid. Yeah. But now with do I say a proper democratic setting in South Africa, we've not had any organized Formula One race. But from what we've seen now, they're saying that they are capable of staging a Formula One race.
We'll just keep our fingers crossed, and see how it goes. But talk about Formula One. It's really demanding. At this point in time, you have to invest a whole lot of money, into it to make sure, of course, you have a befitting race, at the end, for the day. Hamilton is saying that he wants to race, in Africa before he retire, and we just wish that, of course, his dream will come to reality at the end of the day. Yes, I think the likes of Rwanda possibly, yes, if you look at it, they have good rules. They can possibly stage the tournament. There's South Africa as well, who also have good rules, but do they really have what it takes, especially when you take a look at the financial power? It's not just hosting some of these events, but at the end of the day, some of these countries will want to expect returns. What do they really gain? I know the viewership and all of that, of course, will be a huge benefit to them, but it all boils down to huge, planning before you, of course, you put up, something like this in Africa. It's been a very, very long time, just like you mentioned, 1960 something. So
67.
67. It's been a long time.
I'm very sure you were not born then.
It's been a long time. So I think to do it this time around, it demands a whole lot. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed to see what comes. I think there was a time Shehu Dike was even talking about Nigeria hosting a Formula One event in Abuja. So maybe in due time, we might see Formula One in Africa.
Well, our fingers are all crossed, and we'll hope that we'll have that event come up in Africa in the due time, in the words of Kingsley. Let's look at the second aspect of our focus on this edition of Sports Extraordinary, and it has to do with the effect of the ongoing war between Iran and, of course, Israel in conjunction with the United States of America. Of course, it's common knowledge that across the world now, most of the Gulf states are under fire. There are missiles flying left, right, and center, drones, they're taking out missiles, and it affects sports as well. Kingsley, the Black Queens of Ghana are held up as we speak in Dubai. They went there to prepare for the WAFCON, the Women African Cup of Nations. And of course, they arrived there before the missiles and the started flying left, right, and center. They cannot leave Dubai now. You are aware of a few days ago where some of the missiles struck part of the Dubai International Airport. But the girls are still held up there. They were supposed to be taking part in what they call the Lindsay female tournament, and of course used there to play some international friendlies leading up to the WAFCON. And now they can't leave Dubai. They cannot be part of the WAFCON because, of course, the WAFCON has been postponed as well. So maybe there's still some time for them to do that. Can you illustrate the effect of this war, ongoing in the Middle East on sports, especially the fate of the Black Queens of Ghana, female national football team of Ghana?
I think it's really a bad one, and at this point, I would just feel so sorry, for the girls. We just hope that they were able to find their way back, home. And at this point, I think there was a point I heard that the Ghanaian government are trying most of the time to see what they could do to bring them back, of course, as it's time, because all this boils down to the WAFCON, where they were, of course, getting prepared, for it. But it's really been, of course, a very sad.
Yeah, talking about the Ghanaian government, I understand they've had their delegation out there, their mission in Dubai. Yeah. Have visited the girls in their hotel. Their hotel is incidentally just about 12 kilometers away from the airport. And if something has happened 12 kilometers away, you could be at risk as well. Them, and so they've visited the girls and tried to ask them to be calm and stay, hoping that there will be opportunity to lift them out of Dubai. But for now, the airport itself is under. But the girls from Hong Kong somehow found a way to leave for Bangkok, and so. You can never tell where the bombs and the missiles will come from.
Definitely, you can never tell where they will come from. But it is best you stay safe. You look for, of course, a better place, to say. Thank God the Ghanaian delegation, possibly, I believe might have arranged a safer place, for them. But for the Hong Kong, I think possibly they tried as much as can to navigate their way, out, for the country. And this is what, of course, we talk about, when your country, of course, is well sophisticated in terms of trying to make sure they provide adequate security, no matter where you are, of course, in the world. And that's what, of course, we're seeing at this point in time. But I believe the girls are really safe. We just hope that maybe in few days to come, they come and they will get back home.
While talking about a few days to come, we've heard Donald Trump talk about 4 to 5 weeks mission to be carried out in the Middle East, especially against Iran, and of course saying that it could even be more. Our hearts are now with the Black Queens of Ghana, who is held up in Dubai. We just hope that they'll be safe in their hotel room where they are presently being held in the United Arab Emirates. We're still talking about the effect of this war and maybe extending to the WAFCON. West African, of course, Cup of Nations for women. Kingsley, what is the fate of CAF? Because in the course of the week, you remember they said the tournament will no longer take place in March. Yeah. Now it will be sometime in July. And of course, a lot of people are saying that maybe Morocco try to play stunts, but they are still saying that girls will have to return back to Morocco in July.
Yeah, but I think for me, if you take a look at it, a lot has really happened, down there in Morocco after the African Cup of Nations. That's the male African Cup of Nations. We saw what really happened in the final, and that really escalated to a whole lot. In fact, there was even a time where, some Moroccans were protesting against the government, that they really invested a lot, in sport, that they should maybe tilt their eyes towards developing, or maybe putting more money into education, and all of that. So there's been ups and downs.
You can't get away the money from sports. They've already done that already. So you can already appeal that they should extend to education as well. But what has been used over the last decade, to invest in infrastructure, facilities, training of personnel, and all of that, I don't think they have benefited from it. They have gone as far as to the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup. And of course, playing in top-level competitions in Africa, both in the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup, and even the World Cup. So I think they have benefited a lot. So I do not stand with these Moroccans who think that because they didn't win the
African Cup of Nations.
African Cup of Nations, they lost to the final to Senegal. So it means that they've not gotten value for their money. I think they have gotten really good value for their money. But what benefit, do I say, what significance is this postponement to July next year?
I think for me it's not really a good one at this point, because CAF actually came up with that decision 12 days to the kickoff, for the game, and that could be, of course, so disappointing to some countries that are really prepared for this world. The likes of even the Super Falcons. We'll just talk about the Black Queens of Ghana. They were on their way to preparing for the WACON, and of course all of this not happened. So a whole lot has really gone in. Money has gone in, from different countries that were participating, in the WACON to get themselves prepared. So it's really a huge setback, as it stands. The players now have to go back to their different club sides, in Europe, after coming back to prepare just for this particular tournament. So it's really a disappointing one. I think CAF, they should have done better, and that's why you see some of the players, journalists as well, coming up to criticize CAF for not putting up a proper plan for the hosting of the Women African Cup of Nations. Some are even saying that CAF do not really have or pay much attention to female football rights in Africa, because if maybe they know that this was going to happen, I believe they are working hand in hand with Morocco to know if this was going to hold. But coming to postpone the tournament 12 days. 12 days is a very short time. All right, a lot have gone in terms of preparation from the countries that will, of course, be in this competition. And you're coming up 12 days, and at the end of the day, there will be no compensation, and all of that. And the different federation, of course, won't have anything back. The players wasted their time, and now they're going back just to, continue from where they stop at a different club side. For me, was a very poor planning from CAF, and I think going forward they should do better.
Confederation of African Football postponing the Women African Cup of Nations to July from March has been troublesome. Most of the countries to take part in this competition have gone advanced in their preparation. Some are even en route to Morocco before this announcement came, and it becomes very troublesome. Like, of course, you mentioned there the Super Falcons. Some of the players were already on their way to the preparatory camp, and so all of that now will have to enter into reverse gear. Well, unfortunate, but we'll look into the days ahead to see proper arrangement coming from Confederation of African Football. We begin to have to wrap up the show now and bring in some football stories still. Kingsley, let's look at the leagues across Nigeria, and of course maybe some of the top 5 leagues in Europe as well. We have barely less than 10 games, yes, 8, some countries 9, to the conclusion of the season in football. It's time to look at the teams that are at the top. Maybe time to look at those that could be relegated as well. But first, maybe this week we'll look at the teams that are at the top. What chances do they have to play at the continent? First, we'll start here in Nigeria. The Premier League here in Nigeria has on top of the league table Rivers United, after winning Academy Warriors a few days ago by 4 goals to 1. Kingsley, everybody thinks that yes, they have the chance to win the league because they have outstanding games, and the other teams are not really doing well. But Rangers International seem to be having a different idea. Can the Rangers stop Rivers United from winning the league this year?
It's going to be a tough one because of the 2 outstanding games Rivers United, they have. So for me, for Rangers,
they had 4 outstanding games that they seem not to have taken clear advantage of their first 2.
Yes, and if you take a look at it, I think there's a slight margin between them and Enugu Rangers. It means they really have to work hard, talking about Rangers, to catch up with Rivers United because of the 2 outstanding games. But one thing, of course, we should understand at this point in time, you have 2 outstanding games. It's not a guarantee that you have 6 points from those outstanding games. Rivers United might still drop points, so I think Rangers still have what it takes, of course, to fight for down the very end of the league at this time around. It's for me, I think if you look at it critically, you say Rivers United, yes, they can go all the way to get this one, but for the way it is, we still have the likes of Rangers, We have the likes of Ikorodu City still pushing, of course, for this.
Surprisingly, Nasarawa United is in the fourth place position. They too can upset Rivers United.
Yeah, they too can upset Rivers United if only they are consistent. They can be consistent.
It's because it's 5 points different between Rivers United at 49 and Nasarawa United is 44 points.
Yeah, if they remain consistent in the remaining games, I think they have what it takes, to, of course, to be able to catch up, with Rivers United. But for me, I think that would be a tall mountain to climb for Nasarawa United. At some point, they were top of the league table for a very long time. But Rivers United, after coming back from the CAF Champions League group stage where they had a very disappointing performance, they picked up and now they're top of the table. Even we just have to pick, they pick form as well. And this is where they are. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Nasarawa United, but you can't rule them out. Anything can still happen between Rivers United, Enugu Rangers, Ikorodu City, and Nasarawa United. Any of them can be the champion of the MPFL this season.
Less than 10 games to end the Premier League here in Nigeria. Rivers United in the top place position. Second place is Rangers International. Then Ikorodu City is in the third place position. Then fourth place is Nasarawa United. Abia Warriors is fifth place, and of course they could slip into the continental positions as well. Nigeria still have to produce 2 CAF Champions League teams and the 2 CAF Confederations Cup, going by the coefficient, as ensured by Rivers United playing in the group stage of the CAF Champions League. Now let's go to the Premiership in England. Wow. In the course of the week, we saw Manchester City, everybody talked about upsetting Arsenal, dropping 2 points, and Arsenal gaining maximum points in their fixture as well in course of the week. Kingsley, any stopping Arsenal? They have a 7-point gap between them and second place Manchester City now.
The league is still open, all right? The league is still open, despite Arsenal topping with 7 points, as it stands. They still have an outstanding game, and if they can be able to utilize in the remaining 8 games, I think they have what it takes, of course, to still compete with Arsenal when it has to do with, of course, the title race. That is only if they are consistent in the remaining games, as it stands. For Arsenal, I think they now have the advantage of lifting the title after so many years. 7 points is a huge one, and if they can capitalize on this performance and try to see how to get it done in the remaining 8 games, I tell you, this might be another season, or that season, that Arsenal, of course, will lay their hands on the Premier League title after so many years.
After more than 24 years, Arsenal looks like coming back to nick the title, but fingers are crossed. 8 games to play for Arsenal and 9 for Manchester City, that is in the second place position. This point gap between them and Arsenal. Arsenal 67 points, Man City 60 points, while Manchester United has 61 points as compared to Aston Villa, with I think same number of points, but goal difference. What do you make of Aston Villa and Manchester United? Manchester United, nobody reckoned on them going by their earlier performances, but with Carrick around, they've jumped to continental position now. They can play either in the Confederations Cup or Champions League.
I think they're still in danger, at this point in time. When you take a look at the point difference between them and Aston Villa, you talk about Chelsea Football Club.
There's even Liverpool as well.
Yeah, there's even Liverpool contending for that top 4 spot. There's Chelsea contending for that top 4 as well. So Manchester United, it looks like they're still in danger in that top 4 contention. They lost their last game against Newcastle United, and that wasn't a good one at all. We'll just hope that they'll be able to pick up the pieces and see how they can be consistent in the remaining games, this season. Else, they might not, of course, qualify, for the Champions League once again.
Let's quickly go to Spain now. And if you look at the Spanish La Liga, it looks like FC Barcelona is fighting neck to neck with Real Madrid. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's really a very huge battle as it stands. Barcelona still top, I think, on the league table now with about 64 points. Real Madrid are second down, 63 points. They won their game this weekend, and of course that also helped them to be able to close the gap between them and FC Barcelona. But Real Madrid have been very, very poor when it has to do with, of course, performance. A few days ago, they were beaten by Getafe, and they were so lucky, of course, to get all 3 points against Celta Vigo once again. Yes, you will say no thanks to injury to some of their players, the likes of Rodrigo, the likes of Jude Bellingham. You talk about Kylian Mbappe. These are key players that are injured, and it has not really helped the coach, to be able to get the job right. But they really have to step up. They shouldn't come up with injury. They should use injury as an excuse. Barcelona won the league last season, and this season they look at see if, of course, they're going to get it away from them. So for me, I think Real Madrid should just step up their performance and see how they can fight to win the title this time.
Let's look at what's happening in Italy. Inter Milan this weekend have a crucial encounter against AC Milan. But looking at the Italian Serie A, who can make it in Italy?
Yes, I think it's really, really, of course, a tough one. Inter Milan has been on a very, very aggressive run, especially in the Italian Serie A. If you look at it, they look like a team that might possibly, of course, lay their hands on the title once again. AC Milan are also there. They're also not left out. They are one side, of course, that have been very, very, fantastic. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed, and see how the race go down there in the Italian Serie A.
No stopping Bayern Munich in Germany.
Of course, no stopping Bayern Munich at all. They've been very consistent, racking up points so far this season. I think it's going to be another season where company will, lay his hand on another trophy down there in Germany. We'll
have to wrap it up here, but definitely next weekend we'll continue with look at prospects of teams winning, and of course the teams that will be dropping as well. The relegated side, we'll look at their chances of dropping ahead of the conclusion of the season. While the war ongoing between Iran and Israel in conjunction with the United States of America is going on, we've seen it that affect the Confederation of African just a CAF when it comes to the Women African Cup of Nations. The main World Cup itself is less than 100 days to go, and it looks like it will affect some of the teams. The Iranian national team has qualified for the World Cup, but it looks like teams going for the Confederations Cup qualifiers may not, have a full squad going into the tournament because the players are coming from different parts of the world and they cannot gather, right now. So, what effect can this have on the World Cup? Well, maybe we'll take time because we'll run out of time. We'll look at it next. But one of the countries to host the World Cup is Mexico. Of course, we know Canada and the United States of America. Imagine if Iran qualifies for the World Cup. In fact, they have qualified for the World Cup.
Qualified.
Yeah, if they have to go to play in America, that just looks.
I think some of their games are in America.
Oh yes. And talking about where these matches will take place, Mexico, we are told now that 100,000 police, military, and private security forces will be part of ensuring the security at the games. I think this number could even double, especially with the Iranian war going on.
Definitely. I think it really have to, because at this point in time, security needs to be very tight. Even, especially in the United States of America, the level of security there needs to be very, very tight to make sure that, the lives of people are protected, because people are going to be traveling down to these countries, to watch the World Cup, and they won't. It's very sad that people just see some persons losing their lives, just like that. So I think ensuring proper security is actually the best at the moment.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed in the days ahead. Like I said, it's less than 100 days to the FIFA World Cup, and a lot of security arrangement will have to take place. And some people think that there could be even some postponement, but we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. But we'll have to wrap up this show with our normal signature kit, and of course, it has to be with our sports extraordinaire for this weekend. Looking at the records set there by LeBron James in the NBA this week, no other person is qualified to be sports extraordinaire of the weekend.
LeBron James, of course, deserves it, putting over 15,000 on-field goal, surpassing that record of Abu Jabbar. It's really, really, of course, impressive. Still doing it at the age of 41. Huge one for the man. Congratulations
to LeBron James, and of course for Abdul Jabbar. I'm too sure too he will be proud that yes, someone has come to uplift his own record. And that will be it for this week. Definitely next weekend we'll be back with yet another very exciting edition of Sports Extraordinary. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
The board, management, and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2026 Anniversary Celebration Lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM. President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time, 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi, 081-063-41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090-454-00744. Signed, Management.